All right, we're recording. Welcome everybody to Master Chatter Week 26. This week we have Rachel Cesa and Chuck Brehm joining us, both two of the top performers in the 35 to 39 division from the Legends Online Qualifier. And of course, on hand we have this week Justin LaSala, Jen Dieter. Jen coming off her big win in the Ole Nationals. So everybody, big congratulations to Jen.
Congrats.
Tied her own record on the snatch, right?
Yeah, that's right. Tied the record. So that was good enough.
Yep. Little asterisk there, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. We'll ignore it.
That's right.
So our guest this week, Rachel Cesa, 37 years old, out of CrossFit Tustin, was first place in the 35 to 39 women's qualifier for Legends. Really an outstanding performance. Her top individual workout was first in 20.4, right? Is that correct?
The double under workout?
Yeah, I think it was the double under and total bar workout. She had all top 10 workouts except for 20.2, which was her worst performance, which came in 17th. So let's all cry for Rachel and her terrible performance.
Half my points were from that workout.
Oh man, nice job though.
Yeah, excellent job. And then Chuck Brehm, Chuck came in third in this year's qualifier, and his top performance was first in 20.3, put up an amazing 282 reps. If you guys remember, that was the 15-minute AMRAP with the rowing.
Oh yeah.
That was
snatches
nice
and the handstand push-ups. And then again, all top 10 scores except for 20.5. Actually, 20.5 was the double under total bar workout, and Chuck had a really awful 11th place in that. So these two really crushed it in the qualifier. Really excited to see them perform it at the Legends Championship in December in Arizona. And with that, I will kick it over to you, Justin.
All right, guys. So I think a big part of what we do is we try to put a face to the name, so to speak. We see names on leaderboards all the time, and no one really talks about the master community. It's about the individuals and the teams, and we get that. But this show was pretty much just trying to learn about people like yourself, quite frankly, and hear your story and to, bust some balls and have some fun with it, So, I mean, I'll just kind of, again, we'll probably go back and forth for a little bit, but just to kind of get your story, Chuck, ladies first. So, Rachel, give us your quick spiel, how you kind of got involved in CrossFit, what made you go competitive. Go nuts, have fun with it.
Okay, yeah. So I started CrossFit 8 years ago after I had my second daughter. So I have a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old. And basically I just started because I needed to get back into shape. And my sister-in-law started at CrossFit Tustin, and she's like, you got to try this place. It's amazing. The community's great. So I started, and of course, I started off with just the 3 times a week, trying to, figure out the movements. Gymnastics came easy for me just because I have a background in gymnastics. I did that competitively for 15 years, but the barbell work was very challenging. So that took some time. And 2 years into it, she asked me to do a fun competition, and I was hooked. After I did that one, I was like, this is for me. I love to compete. It just brought back that those gymnastics days, those competitive feelings. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. we all have a background story,
right?
Just like that, where, I mean, for me, we had a gym, so I came from a coaching standpoint before I got involved in it, but, it's always interesting from a coaching standpoint, when you walk into a CrossFit gym, and you realize that there's a really big gymnastics aspect to this sport or, fitness, whatever you want to call it in a sense. The coaches kind of be like, oh, this girl can be really good, did you get early feedback? hey, a lot of the concepts that you apply through gymnastics are going to apply to the barbell. And
Yeah, definitely.
so,
Yeah, yeah. My coaches definitely encouraged me to, train a little bit more and then start competing. And it was just that the barbell was just so challenging. That's definitely something that I've been working on over the years and still trying to get stronger. And but yeah, it's been a road.
yeah, for sure. I mean, Chuck, you run a gym, or are you a coach at a gym?
I teach a high school physical education in Wisconsin, and at our high school, we are affiliated with CrossFit. So I kind of run some CrossFit classes for my students as well as for some of the staff members and teachers that we have. But I do most of my CrossFit at CrossFit Green Bay, which is one of the bigger gyms in our area over here.
Right.
That's pretty cool. I was just gonna say that's pretty cool that you got your high school affiliated that you work at.
Yeah, and that was actually affiliated before I even got into CrossFit. Former Phi Ed teacher at our school started it up, and a couple of years went by, and she continued to try to get me to get into CrossFit all the time. And I was just very much into going to Gold's Gym and doing my bench presses and all that kind of stuff. Then I kind of messed up my shoulder and started doing some running, and then as my lifting started coming back, I decided to give CrossFit a shot, and one thing kind of led to another there. And, she told me I needed to get into the competitive aspect of doing CrossFit. So that's what I did, and ended up kind of joining up at CrossFit Green Bay, and that got me on the path to here.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think that's a common thread with all of us here, from the competitive side of CrossFit, is that we were probably competitive gymnasts. Bob said you had a handful of other sports you played. Chuck, baseball at Wisconsin, which you're talking about big. You played at the university.
UW Stevens Point. It's a D3
Division
school.
III.
Wisconsin, yeah.
Yeah, but still, I don't care what anybody. I played Division III football. It felt like I worked just as hard as everybody else did, and we played games every week too as well. But I think that's one of the really cool things about CrossFit from a master standpoint is we all had another sport before. We were competitive in whatever. Bob, he's competitive in like checkers, You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we all have that. And when you get older, there's nothing out there for you, I mean, there really isn't, now there's like these Spartan races and all these other type of things, but there really isn't much out there for the masters. So I think that as soon as you start CrossFit and realize there's a competitive aspect of it, I just think for people like us, it's such an easy transition,
Yeah.
I mean, Rachel, you think that's true or what?
For sure. Yeah. So I did gymnastics for 15 years. And my goal obviously was like when I was younger to be in the Olympics. And, as I got older, I realized that was something that wasn't going to be happening. So my goal was to go to get a scholarship at a college. And my junior year in high school, I ended up doing a tumbling pass and overextending and fracturing my spine and having 2 slip discs. So that kind of took me out of any kind of scholarship. So that was really tough. It took me like a year to like rehabilitate and recover. And I decided to walk on at Cal State Fullerton and do the uneven bars just because it was something I was so passionate about, but it was just never the same. So I felt like I was never finished with what I was capable of doing. So when I found CrossFit, it really gave me that opportunity to push myself and use those skills that I've trained so hard for in a different way, in a different sport. So that's why I think it's so amazing that I'm able to translate over to CrossFit and keep doing those things that I practiced so hard for.
Yeah, Chuck, I mean, what about you? I mean, obviously, you're competitive, you get into CrossFit, and then you're probably in pretty good shape to begin with. What year was that?
I'm about 6 years into CrossFit right now. Kind of same story as Rachel. Right after my second daughter was born, got into it, and just to dovetail off that competitive aspect. When I first started, it was just competing with the people that were in our little high school community working out, in our little gym. And then after that, I started to move up into CrossFit Green Bay and started to realize like, hey, I can make a regional team. And that was back in like 2015, 16. We had a really competitive gym, still very competitive gym, and set my sights on becoming a member of that regional team, and got my butt kicked day in and day out by some really fit people, but was able to make it on that regional team in 2016. And then regionals kind of got taken away after that a little bit. And at that point, it's like, all right, I'm working right into this Masters. And just so happens like the Masters started to become a little bit more of a thing at that time. So it's been a real nice progression. And, you look at the future, like you can be competing all the way through 60, 65 at this point. And that's what I'm really drawn to.
Yeah, so you touch on something that we all joke about, all right? And that is aging up, moving up a division, young buck in the 60 plus, like we've all had that. I had that moment, I made a run at it 2 years ago because I was that person, Bob has that experience. Jen, she's pretty much a games athlete, all right, that beforehand. And you were on a bunch of teams too, right, Jen?
I think I did 4 regional teams. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but, aging up, getting into that just knowing that there was a possibility and taking regionals away, in a sense, being like, like my one chance to kind of, shine with my team, but with that, Chuck, talk about training with a team and then as an individual, because it's way different. It's lonely.
Yeah, definitely can be very lonely at times. When we were doing a lot of team training and stuff, everybody's kind of going through doing same workouts on the same day, and you're sharing scores, you're sharing strategies, and we were all having jobs at that time. So on rare occasions, you'd get the whole team together and you'd have a real great session on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then kind of when you transition into working out as a master's athlete, you're starting to do more stuff at home in your garage or in your basement, or you're sneaking into the gym when you can get in there. And like you said, it gets to be pretty lonely. But that's where you kind of got to go down into that, little bit of a deeper mindset where you got to question, like, why am I really here? What am I really looking to get out of this? And I think a lot of people get to that point and they get stuck and they're like, I don't see the point to this anymore. But maybe somebody like myself or Rachel here, like we have some ultimate goals to get to the game someday, and to get out and just compete and just show who we are as people and make ourselves better people every day. So that's kind of the mentality I take into my training.
And I think it's even that more impressive that you guys have kids and you can go ahead and balance all of those things, because you know what? It is a major sacrifice. We were talking earlier about, Division I, Division III, but the commitment level is the same. We committed just like all these other people. All right. Now granted, there is a turning point in a sense, like, hey, I have to take care of my kid, or you have to take care of your business. All right. You're something like that. If you're Matt Frazier, you probably don't have those problems. You're just, that's your focus. But, it's super impressive that you guys have kids and jobs and are productive and good people and are still able to compete at a high level, So kudos to you guys for that. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, well, and when you look at what you two collectively have done in what I would consider by far the hardest Masters division, right? Like the Masters women 35 to 39 has been the hardest division since they added that division to the Masters, right? And then close behind that is the Masters men 35 to 39. Like, you look at some of the older divisions and when you start getting outside of the top 200, outside of the AGOQ level athletes, like there tends to be a bigger drop off, right? But in the 35s, you can get as deep as like 300, 400, 500, and like there are great athletes that are just, they just might not be good at muscle up, right? Or like their top end strength is just not quite there. But if you were to put them out on a floor on a 4-day competition, like they're going to perform, right? And so you guys got to go up against that day in and day out. And, you know, you look at your results for the last couple of years, like Rachel, 24th this year, 21st the year before, Chuck, 37th, 46th, 38th, like real consistent, high level. And, you know, the difference between 21st and 10th is infinitesimally small, right? And the difference between 37th and 10th in your division, you know, is really, really small. And you know, so one, I just want to say, you know, you guys are on the precipice, stay with it, right? Don't get discouraged by the fact that, you know, you haven't made it to the games, right? Because
It's so close, but so far.
well,
Right.
we'll come back to that. I want to talk about the games and some of the changes that Castro talked about on Talking Elite Fitness the other day. We'll come back into that, and you know, hopefully there's you guys aren't as far away as you think you are, right? But in order to maintain that level, what is, you know, with kids, with a job, like what does your training schedule look like? And you know, kind of more importantly, one of the things that we always talk about, because we're the, you know, in those older master age groups, right? I mean, we're in the 45s. You guys are, you know, little puppies compared to us.
When I started off being a master, 35
Right.
wasn't even in the master's division.
We had to walk uphill both ways in the snow just to get our barbells, right?
Exactly.
Not only your training schedule, but your recovery schedule. So if Rachel, if you could hit on that first, and then Chuck,
Yeah.
and following up on that.
Yeah. Well, 2 years ago, I got a new job. So I work for the Orange Unified School District, and I do scheduling for them. So I work early morning. So I basically fill out call outs for people. So I start work at 5:30 a.m. and then I'm done by 11:30 a.m. So I work a 6-hour shift full time. So right after then I go train. I train for 2.5 hours, 5 days a week. Usually take 2 full days off. I find that my body needs that physically and mentally. But yeah, so I, 10 to 12 hours a week. And what's really nice about that is I'm able to train while my girls are in school and my husband's at work. So I don't have that feeling of I'm missing out on something, or I'm not doing what I need to be doing for the family, taking care of the kids. So it's really been a nice balance. I feel like with my job and training and work, it's been really good these last 2 years. So that's why I'm able to focus more and hopefully get to where I need to be. Yeah.
And Chuck, what about you?
Sure. My training is it's all over the place. I don't have like a set schedule that I necessarily follow. Being up here in the Midwest, I like to say I'm like an old white-tailed deer. You can never really pattern me. Some days it's 5 a.m. I'm at the gym. Some days it's right after school at 2:45, 3 o'clock. If I get a busy day, I got some coaching or doing stuff with the kids, it's get them to bed and it's work out at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So I really just look at a day by day, week by week type basis and try to fit it in whenever I can. And some days I have to be okay with just a little 15, 20-minute session in the garage. You just put yourself on the floor and you go hard. And other days when I have more time, I'll find the time to get a little bit longer session in. So really focusing on, I guess, weekends are really big for me. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. My wife is really great about supporting me and all my efforts, and gives me the freedom and the time to be able to go to the gym and put a good 2.5 hour session in on weekends, so I can get in the work that I feel I need to get in. So that's kind of the pattern that I fall into.
Chuck, let me ask you this: do you second guess that at all, ever? Do you second guess, like, hey, maybe I should get on more of a specific type training so my body, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I know constantly varied. You're taking that to a whole new level, but do you ever sit back and say like, hey, like maybe I need to make a change, Does that come into play at all?
Yeah, it definitely does come into play. And there's times where you just kind of have those feelings of, I just wish I could have some normalcy and know I have this block of time to train every day. But also being a master's athlete and knowing that I'm not making a living off of this, you know, I'm always going to put the family first, and, you know, my job profession, you know, has to be in there as well. And that's a solid chunk of time that's blocked out for me every day that I really can't train. Fortunate I'm a teacher, so I have some, you know, the weekends off, and, you know, holidays and summers are a little bit more free.
Yeah, for sure.
But I've always looked at it kind of as, this is just kind of the hand I'm dealt right now. Like, this is how it is, and I'm going to put the kids and the family first. And if my training actually suffers a little bit, end of the day, I guess I got to be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think it's a blessing, because I think whether you guys have gone through this, or I know Bob has, and Jen probably as well, you know, I've definitely done way too much, call it overtraining, all right, whatever you want to call it, you know. I mean, I think from a master standpoint, we really need to think about how our body feels. And there, obviously there's days where you have to push through and be mentally tough, you know, but, you know, we're playing with a totally different deck of cards. It's like a pinochle deck, you know, all right. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you wake up one day and your hip is just like on fire, and you don't know why that happens, you know, and maybe all the squatting caught up, you know, I mean, like, so, you know, I think that's super important. So, I mean, those could be like, they're not rest days for you, you know, or anything, but in the long run, maybe it keeps your body fresh.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I completely agree. You know, like, you know, Rachel kind of mentioned she likes to have the 2 solid rest days in a row. And, you know, for me, like, if I don't get a long session, and like, I'm like, okay, like, that was a rest day today, and you just kind of keep chugging along and pushing through. And I always feel like I can listen to my body really well. And, you know, there's times where I'll train 7, 8, 9 days in a row. And, you know, if I'm feeling good, I just keep showing up and just keep going. And when you run into one of those days where you're not feeling so good, you get your butt to the gym and you train that day. And if you feel bad the next day, that's how I know it's time for a little bit of rest.
Right. Are you guys self-programming, or are you following something, or the gym, or do you have a coach? Rachel, you know.
Yeah, our owner of our gym, he's my coach, so he programs for me weekly. So I follow what he gives me. Yeah.
Good.
Which makes it nice. I just show up and do the work.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep, same deal over here. Our gym owner does all of our programming, and pretty much follow what he does over the course of time too. Like, you know, I start to get to know myself and my needs pretty good too. So if he programs a workout, the whole gym does the same workout. I'm able to kind of modify that, or you know, make it something maybe a little bit more appropriate to myself if I need to. And then as well, you know, throwing in some extra pieces, and, you know, working on weaknesses and those types of things are things that I kind of take over a little bit on my own, but for the most part, just following what our gym owner's programming.
Cool.
Yeah, you guys really hit on, you know, the recovery aspects. I can just tell you, as you start to age up and you start to get into the 40 to 44s and 45 to 49s, like for me personally, going back to Justin's point earlier, I was a big time overtrainer. You know, like I when I first started CrossFit, I was 40, and my goal from day one was to make it to the games. And I felt like if I wasn't training at, you know, close to 100% every day, Justin was out there and he was training at 100% every day. And I was. You know, and it wasn't until that I learned that that's the absolute wrong way to go, that my competitive career took another leap, right? Because your body, our bodies, masters' bodies aren't meant to take the beating that you know, Fraser takes, right? It was interesting though. I read an article somewhat recently that quoted Tia, and she was talking about how she never really focuses on you know, what she does that day. Like, she gives the best that she can give on that particular day, and doesn't worry about whether it's her best ever or better than the day before. It just happens to be that's your best that day, which really sounds a lot kind of what you have to deal with, Chuck, right? With schedule kind of being all over the place. and have adopted that mindset. I think that's a really smart way for competitive masters athletes to approach their programming, right? Like if you don't have it today, you don't have it, right? Do what you can and move on.
You know, and I agree with that. I guess two points to that. I used to be a big scheduled, like I always worked out. I got to the gym at 5:30 every morning. And if I wasn't there by 5:31, I was like, oh my God, I'm late, you know? And then after, I forget what year it was at the games, I was like, man, I always work out when it's dark outside. I never work out in the sunshine. And it freaking kills me if I have to do something in the afternoon because I'm not used to it. So I've intentionally tried to vary my time. And I'm a lot more like Chuck now. I'm like, if I'm, you know, if I feel like I had to stay up late with something to do for work, then I try to get more than 5 hours of sleep. So I'll skip the 5 a.m. wake up and I'll, you know, wait a little longer, and then I'll try to sneak in, or, okay, do I have a long lunch hour today? Or, you know, what's going on with the kids this afternoon? Do I have to be at a game, or can I work out this afternoon instead? And I'm definitely a lot more all over the place. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's less stressful in some ways, and it's a little bit more stressful in some ways because I'm always thinking about on the days of like, oh God, I thought I was going to have time and I don't have time, and is it enough? But that's to the other point of like, I think sometime I'm 46, almost 47 now, and sometime between like 43, I would say, and now I've started to appreciate the recovery like you guys are talking about, you know, or maybe so more so I feel like, you know what, if I take 3 days off in 1 week or even 4, guess what? I'm not a worse athlete. Like it's okay to take a little extra time off 1 week, or to make sure I take off more than 1 day, you know, if I feel like it. Again, and I kind of do like what Chuck does. If I feel like I can go, then great. Especially if I only was able to have time to do 30 minutes of working out 1 day, you know?
I find myself when those days happen where like, oh my goodness, I get stressed out because I'm not gonna be able to make it to the gym because of something came up. I find that like the next day, then I have a little bit more appreciation for that work, and I give it even more than maybe if I was there the day before. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's helpful too that you know how to do all the movements now, you know? I mean, like, you know yourself better. I mean, when you're first starting out, you may be good at wall ball and you may be good at this, but then you put wall ball and that together because you've never done that before, and you're like, oh my God, what just fucking hit me in the face? You know, like, I think the longer you're in the game, the more you can really identify. Like for me, when I do a lot of thrusters, it doesn't matter what the weight is. I can do them with the bar, you know? But I think it's because I move them really fast. So my body just gets like this like smack in the face because I did however many reps in such a short period of time, you know? But basically what my point is that to Jen, and I agree with you, Jen, you know, being smart about, you know, when you're training for the games or even Wadapalooza for that matter, you know, you get up for one of those swims or the run that's 5 o'clock in the morning, you better be ready to perform. Or they put you out there at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock on the lights, you know, on Flagler, you know, and, you know, you better, and then during the day, you're out and on like one of the stadiums and you're just cooking out there.
Yeah,
so you do need to have all those elements of fitness, but I just think that we know each other. We know ourselves because we've been in the game long. You know, you can go in and be like, hey, I know I can do muscle up. I'm not trying to learn muscle up. I think there's more of a sense of urgency when you're trying to learn exercises compared to when you can already do them. You know, like I'll look at my workout and it won't be like, oh fuck, I can't do muscle up. You know, I'm not there yet. Or like 10 reps. That's gonna take me like 4 days. You know. You know, that's not going to be an option. Now it's not that big of a deal. You're like, oh, all right, I'll break them up in threes. I'm not feeling it super strong. I'll do threes instead of unbroken or something. So, but yeah, I agree with you. And it's a smart plan to mix your days up. I mean, part of the beauty of the program, quite frankly.
Is that what happened in 2016 Granite Games? Did you break up those muscle ups? Is that why you came in second?
No, Bob,
Ooh.
your judge cheated. I mean, your judge didn't know the standards. That's what it came down to.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I wasn't sure if that's what the problem was.
Hey, listen,
No,
you know,
stop these guys.
I'd rather have a games win, you know, than a Granite Games event win.
Fair enough. Well, I just want to point out that Jen's been to the games so many times that she can't even remember like things that happened at the games. Right? Did you guys hear that? Like humble brag there? Like I don't remember. It was like my 4th or 5th games. I don't know. It might have been my 2nd. I'm not really too sure. But
I go by the shoes. I can always tell which games I've been to by the shoes.
Yeah. I need some new shoes this year, damn it.
Yeah, so let's talk games. Let's talk games.
Woo!
Are they yellow, Bob?
yeah, so these are the
Oh,
Final X's.
God.
Yeah.
Nice.
These are the ones that we would have gotten this year.
Okay.
Nice.
They're actually pretty cool.
But let's talk games because Bob touched on it, and I know what he's going to ask, and I don't want to steal his question at all. All right. You know, I actually think, Bob, just, you know, and I'll let you go ahead and run with it.
Yeah.
I think the 35-year-old division is going to be a larger division for Masters next year. I think it's going to change the way Castro said it, and I'm speculating. This is my guess. But I think the way he said it, it goes by participation, you know? So when you start looking at 65 plus, I think they're going to, I mean, they made 10 or 12 tops, you know? All right, maybe 15, you know, but I could see them gearing up the 35-year-old division. And I could even see them going 30 at some point. Not anytime soon, but I think eventually they're going to go 30, no doubt.
So just to bring everybody up to speed on that. So Castro was on Talking Elite Fitness with Sean and Tommy late last week, I think it was.
Yeah, it's a good week.
Great episode. If you guys haven't listened to it, if you know, for our 15 or so fans out there that you know, don't also listen to Talking Elite Fitness, they're friends of our show. We're friends of their show. They do an amazing job. Absolutely download and listen to Sean and Tommy every week. They're what we aspire to be at some point in time. But so they had Dave on, and they were talking about, you know, the games this year and everything that happened. And then Sean wanted to make sure that he got in a Masters question for us. And so he asked, hey, Dave, you know, what's your plan with the Masters? And Dave responded that they want to expand the Masters field, right? That they want to start supporting the Masters a little more. And this is great news. I mean, this is really what we've been kind of harping on for a while here, that the Masters represent almost 50% of the CrossFit Open community, and we don't get the love in return. You know, and there's obvious financial reasons for that. But so anyway, what Dave said was they will expand the field. It will be kind of participation based, because he did take a shot at the teen divisions, right? Because the teens are, you know, they want more than 10, but there's only like 1,000 people that do the teens worldwide, right? Like it doesn't make sense to add more than 10. But he definitely said that the younger Masters divisions should be at least 20, if not more, going forward, which I think is fantastic. And to Justin, your point, I could see that, right? Where they, like, maybe they go with 30 for the 35s, you know, 25 for the 40s, 20 for the 45s, right? You know, 15, 10, whatever, kind of work it down based off of participation.
Yeah, I think they're going to stop it at 30. And they're not going to do the 40s. I think they'll bump all 40 and up, you know, maybe to like, again, I don't know the numbers, you know, I don't know what the drop-offs really kind of happen, you know, but I could easily see the 35-year-old division going to 30. And again, not the 40 though. I don't see that unless there's like a lot of big names coming in. I think 20 is still a lot, Bob, you know, I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like that's a lot of athletes to manage, you know, I mean, you know, even when we spoke to Castro a couple of times, he said that there's so much logistics think about the competitions you run at your home gym, you know, and then think, oh, well, I don't have to tell you, Bob, but, you know, like, and then take that on a scale that's, I mean, you're actually, Bob, taking it to a scale that it's never been before, you know, all right? So, and I know you're going through challenges, you know, and these are just before the event. So, from a logistics standpoint, I can't see many more than 30. That's why I think eventually they're going to raise it up to like 30 years old. Because I mean, I think it's once it goes like on CBS and gets covered and becomes like a legit money sport, I don't think you're going to be able to compete at 30 with these kids. I just don't. I think the game is going to get too big. It's going to be like the Tiger Woods effect. Look what Tiger spawned. All these kids that are playing right now, like they grew up idolizing Tiger and wanting to be like him, and they're taking golf to a totally different level right now.
Well, so here's why I don't think they're going to go to 30 just yet, right? Because I think there are still. What's that?
I said eventually 30.
Yeah, I mean, there are still enough guys that and women that can be competitive at that age, right? And supposedly, you know, you don't hit your physical peak until what, 28, right? Isn't that kind of the number that's out there?
I'm in my prime.
I don't know if that's science or some bullshit that I made up, but let's run with that for now.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. So I don't know, man. I'd like to see them add more than 10 to the at least up to the 45 to 49 division. Because I look at the 45 to 49, and I look at the guys that come in the top, 30 or 35 in the AGOQ, and there's not a huge difference between 10th and 20th, and there's not a huge difference between 20th and 35th, right? Like there's a pretty big difference between 35th and 1st, and there's always going to be. But I would like to see it would make for a more exciting event too, right? Like having only 10 people out there, the leaderboard just isn't going to move around all that much.
Right.
But to your
what
point,
do you guys think now? Chuck, you were pretty close, and obviously you would have made it, Rachel. I mean, obviously I would think your vote is yes. But what are your thoughts? Yeah. What are your thoughts on on where the games is going, quite frankly, as well? Chuck.
Yeah, I'd love to see it expand. I think you guys already kind of touched on it. Like, if you're truly looking for the number one guy in the world or the number one girl, like they're going to be in the top 10 no matter what. But I think if you opened it up to 30, I think somebody who finishes that HGOQ at 25 to 30, I think they got a chance to show up and, they could put on a show and they could sneak themselves, top 10, so on and so forth. So I definitely think opening it up would get a real true test of fitness in there.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you just look like cracking into that top 10. There's a lot of factors that could possibly prevent you from getting in there. It's, a little sore subject with me, but back when I was 35 and going hard at it, that stupid handstand push-up line, kind of did me in. I was sitting in a spot where if I had a good workout, I could have worked myself into the top 20, and that workout just folded me. And usually a handstand push-up, a moderate weight snatch, and a burpee is not something that I'm afraid of. But just trying to get the heels above that line just zapped me. So that was something obviously I wasn't overly prepared for, but that's an instance where if there are more people playing the game, I think you'd have a little bit different leaderboard at the end.
Yeah,
no doubt.
What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I agree. I would totally be up for a top 20, 25. With 10, there's just not really much room for movement. Like, I feel like if you have more girls, there's more opportunity to showcase, someone's strength or weakness and have that. So I'm totally for that would be great that they're talking about it. That's awesome. And for fans too, it would be nice, I'm sure, that to see instead of one heat, have multiple heats. It makes it more exciting to watch.
Well, speaking of fan, go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I think, part of the goals that they're trying to capitalize on with the new management at CrossFit, right? I mean, they really want to bring the community back, right? And you know, they want to do that through affiliate growth and things like that, right? They're planning on changing up how they do team events, right? So that the teams going forward are no longer going to be the super, well, they are going to have the super teams, but they're also going to have like the affiliate cup type of model, right? And I think that what they were saying, even with the super teams, like you all still have to train together, right? So, you know, that all kind of brings it more back towards the affiliates. It's a source of pride for affiliates to send masters to the games, right? And if you're only sending 120 total athletes, you know, that limits the pie of pride to go around to the affiliates that they can then, you know, use for marketing materials to help bring in that 35 plus age group, you know, to encourage them to be, you know, more fitness minded and leverage CrossFit, right?
It draws more interest too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you know, you get more people involved, or more of their family members are going to watch the games.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, with Legends, we have 400 athletes that are going to be participating. And, you know, we're in the process of working on the live stream with our live stream partners. And, you know, that's part of what's really attractive to them, is that we have 400 of the top athletes, masters athletes in the world. So it's not this limited group of people that are competing. There's this broad group that, you know, our live stream partners will be able to, you know, in turn market to sponsors to get people to watch it, right? Like a bigger group, I think is definitely better, because I don't think you're going to see, you know, you're not going to see like this huge depreciation of talent, right? From first to 30th, right? Or first to 20th. Like everybody that's out there is still a great athlete. So the show, which is important for CrossFit, isn't ruined, right?
And you could always do heats, you know? I mean, like, you could always separate by heats,
Sure.
you know? And if you get somebody, like, let's say you do 30 and the 35-year-old, and you're the 30th guy, you know? And you make it into 15, and now you're competing against the top 15, you know? It kind of gives you, I remember when I was watching the games, the first or second year, I think it was the second year of Masters they ever had it. It was in like 2015, maybe. All right. And they had the final workout. They would actually put that master workout on TV. ESPN would, or whoever was covering it at the time, would cover that final workout, but they only took the top 10 of the Masters athletes. So it was like a badge of honor to try to make it to be in that final workout, because if not, your day was done. You never did the final workout.
And they put it, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And they put it in the tennis stadium, which is where the open athletes did all their big ones. So we got promoted to, one, the final workout, and then two, you know, with the real deal, Dave Castro came in and announced the workout, and it felt like legit, you know?
Yeah, and Jen, you're 100% right, because I think that's the move that they're going to do. I think they're going to go back to the old format and let the masters compete for 1 or 2 days on Wednesday and Thursday, and then let the individuals come on Friday, masters last day, and kind of have this overlap system so that you can highlight them. It even makes sense logistically, all right, where you don't have to take up 4 venues at a time, you know, because it's chaos at the games. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been there as a spectator, you know. Well, you're in Wisconsin, of course you.
Well, and Rachel's just, you know, I'm sure she's been when they were back.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, there's a lot of shit going on. Plus Vendor Village, they got a lot of rentals. You know, I mean, it would probably make sense to have the turf field and the Coliseum and let those athletes go back and forth. And, you know, obviously if you have swim and on-site events, that's something different. But that is such a better format, because it at least gives the opportunity for masters to have their day. You know, it pretty much takes all of our arguments away from us, you know, and says, listen, you know, no one was in the stadium though, you know. I mean, like, You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, there's a handful of people there, but at least maybe, it starts to, it develops. I'm not saying you're going to have a ton of people on the first competition, but every couple of years, hey, listen, and look, there's a lot of big names in our divisions now. I mean, you talk about people like Matt Chan and Chris Feeler and Neil Maddox and, all these like OGs that you could potentially go see throw down. What do you guys think of that? You like my idea?
I like it.
Love the idea.
Yeah, I'll type it out, man. I'll send it over to Dave.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Castro needs to come
Just
on.
write it up for him.
He's totally bailing on us.
He's
He
not
knows,
bailing on us, man.
he knows we're not going to pull any punches and give him these softball fucking morning chalk questions. No offense, Tommy.
He's a busy man right now, but he and I have been in touch. So
I know. That's good stuff. It's good that we have, that there is that they're reaching out and stuff, because like you said, we're a big part of the pie, so to speak. And I think that's a good move. But
hey, Justin, hold on. I want to go back to one thing you said real quick about 30-year-olds. All right. So you guys ready for this? You're going to feel a little bit old now too. Matt Frazier, 30. Noah Olson, 29.
So 35 it is.
Yeah,
Velner,
35 it is.
Velner, 30. Hepner, 30. Tim Paulson, 30. Fikowski, 29. Travis Mayer, 29. Cole Sager, 29.
All right, Bob, I have a question for you. You made your point.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Yep.
Is it safe to say that, the sport of CrossFit is really just at the low level right now, right? Like I would say that because not many people are CrossFitting. I mean, we're maybe 2% of the population, maybe. All right, if that. All right, from a competitive, I mean, like Chuck, I think your school system's ahead of the curve, quite frankly, in a lot of ways, but because just from a fitness standpoint. But let's talk sport real quick. The sport hasn't been around that long. 10 years is nothing. All right. And when you see people like Haley Adams, who's what, 19, 20 years old, Sam Quate, 22, maybe 21 years old, or he made how old? Find out how old those kids are. Huh?
Sam's 24. Haley is, she's 19.
19. Okay. That's the next generation coming up. Okay. Like, to me, 10 more years down the line, you're going to find out that people in the 30s, they're going to be like, Matt Frazier won when he was 30. What? No way. You guys are talking shit. I'm telling you, I think it's going to be like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, man. But to your point, so the challenge that CrossFit has with that is right now the team division is the weakest from a participation level, right? And so it's, how do we as masters who love the sport help the team participation start growing? And I think, I think that's something that we as people who love the community and love the sport should be thinking about these days, right? I mean, how do we take Chuck's model where it's actually in his high school, right, and help expand that, right?
I think it's got to be about competition at the local level, because if you think about why kids love their high school sports or their year-round travel sports or whatever, it's to play.
Yeah.
Like they want to play. They don't want to practice necessarily. So they have to have an opportunity to play, which is compete in CrossFit or in weightlifting or, whatever. They have to have events to go to prove themselves so they can talk smack, I mean, that's what it's all about at that age.
Chuck, talk to us, because you're in the middle of it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what you see, obviously, with high schoolers, like they're drawn to their sport-specific type things, football, basketball, softball, baseball, those things are always winning out, and that's where your better athletes are going, especially at that high school level. But what I see a lot in my classes is you see a lot of kids with some athletic ability inside their bodies, and that as they get older, they're going to progress and grow into those bodies, and they're just not really skills. They're not great skill sport kids, but you just know they have a level of fitness inside of them. So kind of what I try to do with my kids is just spark a passion for CrossFit and, for lifetime health and fitness, and always, drop it on them like, hey, you can compete in this. Like, you can go to this local competition. We've had some kids that have went and done that in the past. And for me, it's kind of just like planting the seed in their head as to, like, when you get older, like, this is a place for you to go. And I also see in some kids that are better, higher level athletes doing, the football, basketball, and those kind of sports. Like, I would love to get those kids into the CrossFit competitions, but they're not always willing to go there yet because they're just too focused on the high school sports.
Well, you know what? There's a huge drop off though from high school to college athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have two questions for you, Chuck. But the first one is that, to me, that's the opportunity to get them. When they probably don't have any money. That's the problem. They probably can't afford a gym. All right. But that's the spot, because you get so many kids that are probably good athletes, good on their team, probably have a ton of CrossFit potential from an athletic, competitive standpoint. But like you said, they're just hyper focused on being with their friends and playing, like Jen said. The key is going to be to turn them on when they don't go and play at the next level in college, to me. All right. That's the first thing I want to, I guess that's more of a statement. The question I have for you is, are there any other high schools doing affiliate CrossFit that you know of in your area?
Sure. In Wisconsin, I don't know the actual number that we're at. My high school, West Superior High School, was the second in the state, I believe, that was affiliated. Milwaukee Public Schools being the first. And then that wasn't me that affiliated. It was our former Phi Ed teacher. She since moved on to another area school and started up CrossFit there. And you can see like a couple random schools here and there popping up, starting to do the CrossFit. But I think there's a huge opportunity for, physical education teachers like myself to start affiliations with CrossFit, and to, like, it's free for high schools, and K-12 institutions to do it. So all you got to do is fill out some paperwork. You become CrossFit affiliated, go get your level 1, and you're all set and you're ready to go. And, we can get it out into the minds and the bodies of our youth, and get them, not only competing, but just doing CrossFit for health and wellness, and,
you got the ball rolling. You could have schools play each other like they do in soccer.
Right,
you'd probably have to manage and not do 1 RMs, and because kids are just developed that, and you'd have to have divisions and stuff. But there are some basic standard and basic weights that you can probably have these kids doing. There's no question. But
certainly. Yeah, we did that we do that every Christmas. A couple other of the high school affiliates that I'm aware of, like, we reach out, we did like a Zoom class just like this. And, we had our laptops up and everybody's doing the same workout, same time. And, you weren't really competing with it, but it was, hey, we're all doing the same workout at the same time. And, ends up being a pretty cool experience for the kids.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we've had you guys on for an hour. That's about as long as we're interesting for, is what
Apparently.
Yeah, I've been told, I've been getting a lot of feedback that, hey, maybe you guys should just stop talking after an hour. My car ride's not that long, and things like that. So, we should probably wrap it up on that. But Rachel, Chuck, it was awesome having you guys on here. You're fantastic guests.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And Jen will be there competing with you. And, now everybody's got faces to put with the names, and best of luck to both of you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look forward to meeting you guys.
Looking forward to it.
See you guys soon.
Later.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Bob, send that up to me and I'll get it on the link tree.
Yeah. It's been a couple weeks, man, so I forgot how to do it, but I'll get on it.
Bye, guys.
All right. See you, Chuck.